2,000 yards would definitely get you MVP. Ty was on pace this year if he continued to play, and if he scores 30 touchdowns, probably MVP. And your team has to be winning, obviously. But Ty was close.
So you think it can? And overall MVP?
I think it can still. Yeah, I know it can still happen. Yeah.
Terrell, I wanted to ask you, get to Michel McCoy, being from Buffalo. Kind of a down year statistically for him. He's at the age now, he'll be 31 next year, where the question marks start to creep in. What did you think about his season, and do you think that he can get back to the level that he has shown throughout his career?
Yeah, probably at this age. Unfortunately, as you get older, obviously, your production goes down. Here's what he can still do, and I don't know for extended period of time. He is still a very gifted running back, and I love Shady. I love the way he runs, But he's probably no longer the guy that you want to give the ball a lot to again. He's probably more like you want to tailor his touches to a certain amount per game, because he can still be explosive. I don't expect or envision him being the back we saw a long time ago, and that's rarely the case. I mean, we all get to that point where we're not the same back once we get over 30. That's just the way it is.
Do you think he'd go for something like that, knowing the career that he's had? Live a smaller amount of touches.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to swallow when you're a competitor like that, and nobody wants it. But Adrian Peterson wants to probably get 40 touches a game, but the reality of it is it's probably not going to happen. And Shady came in too. We talked to him and had a good talk with him before the season. He was encouraged about this year too. And then sometimes, and then he was nicked up as well. And so those things start to add up. You nick here, nick there. Then all of a sudden you look up and you don't feel as great as you once felt. And as a back, it's kind of important that you feel really good being out there. And I'm not talking about where you can play. I'm talking about where you're not thinking about ankle or toe or some pulled hamstring or something that's going on with you, because those things in the last couple of years that's really hampered him.
Yeah, you think he's done enough to be considered a Hall of Famer?
The Hall of Fame question is tricky for anything. And I don't know. I don't vote. I wish I knew what how they voted. Because there's some really good players, and I would imagine at some point, I haven't looked at his numbers to see where he is.
He's coming up on 11,000.
11,000 yards.
So he's over 10,000 now. He's coming up on 11. He says his goal is 12,000.
12,000. Yeah. Do you cover him a lot?
Yeah.
What you think?
I'm with the Buffalo News. I think he needs another maybe 2 seasons of 1,300 yards. That's asking a lot.
And
I mean, he was dominant for a long stretch, but last year there was some definite warning signs. You talked about a guy not just taking the 4-yard run. He didn't seem like he did that enough. He looked like he was trying to hit the home run every time, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, he actually told me that he wanted to work on that more. Is just getting those 4-yard runs, and it's a hard thing to do, and that's why I preach. I preach for. I mean, the NFL was really. I remember the first time my coach told me, all you have to do is get 4 yards, and I was like, 4 yards? That's it? Are you kidding me? And because I was in college, they wanted me to be like Garrison. I mean, I was having to break 60-yard runs, and I thought I was failing because I wasn't breaking 60-yard runs. I got to Denver. Our coach said, son, in this offense, I want my 4 yards. He said, if you get more than that, that's fine, but I want my 4 yards. If you bounce it, I want my 4 yards. And so I'm like, okay, if I bounce it, I got to get 4 yards. That's it. And what it does, it really doesn't prevent you, but it allows you to work in a system and a mindset that keeps everything pretty clean. Then you can take your chances when you feel comfortable to take chances. I don't know what his coaches have told him and what other coaches tell players, but I always tell my players, I've coached high school 2 years, I want 4 yards. And when you think like that, everything's leaning forward. You keep things on cycle. You keep things on schedule. It allows the chains to move. And then once you start to feel yourself a little bit more, you can take more chances and bounce things and get into a rhythm. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you know when you know that you like it's like golf, I guess. It's like the guy that likes to drive, who really likes to hit the driver, but don't like to work on the short game.
Hey, T, going back to the Hall of Fame for a second. I know you said that it's tough, but when you got in, there was a lot of the questions of longevity, that sort of thing. Tony Baselli sort of facing the same thing, not the longest career, but really, really good when he did play. Sort of, what do you think of his chances? And I mean, do you talk to him? Do you feel like he should be in?
I think his chances are really good. I think he made the finals. Was it the last 2 years he made it? And I would put Tony in sort of the exact same category I was in. And because he didn't play a long time for his position, they look at him differently. And but not that he's not a Hall of Famer. They look at him as, okay, there's kind of this unwritten rule. I don't even know if it's unwritten, but the way I've been watching it is that they kind of make people, it's almost like you got to pay your dues, kind of wait it out, and then it kind of balances out, where they can say, all right, now you can get in. You're kind of sitting there at that club door at the VIP, and they're like, we got these other VIPs that are coming in. We'll let you in, but these other guys in. All right, now it's your turn. And that's what I felt like. And so Tony, absolutely. I remember watching Tony in Jacksonville, and he was just a dominant, need no help. And it's hard and here's the problem. It's just hard for linemen, period. Because the only stat lines they have is if you're all pro or if you're a pro bowler. And so it's hard to really kind of throw those out there to say how it doesn't really describe or show you how dominant he was at the time, the years that he played, because we don't have a stat that can really justify it for him. But Tony Baselli was right up there with the greats, and it was one of the best, probably the best left tackle who played in his era.
So you think it should be in?
Yeah, absolutely.
What does it mean for the Georgia Bulldogs to have two of their former running backs, of course, playing in the big game on Sunday? You'll have Todd Gurley, you'll have Sony Michel. So how big is that for them to not only be playing in the game, but be playing in the game in Atlanta?
I'm like a proud papa. That's what it's like. Those are my sons. No, it really is, because you know how it is. You watch your alma mater. You see, I've known Sony and Nick and Todd for a long time, and watched them, and to see them playing in this game, and to know that this is a big stage, and every time we get interviewed or something like that, that's coming up. And unfortunately, I wish they were on the same team. I wish they were playing, but now, what I do know for a fact is that a Georgia running back will win a Super Bowl, which is cool. And possibly they have a chance to be an MVP. And if that happens, if my math is correct, Hines Ward was Super Bowl MVP. He went to Georgia. He played running back at Georgia. Most people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. So Hines played running back, and he was a quarterback, running back, and then he played wide receiver. So, as a matter of fact, Hines and I were in the same backfield together. You didn't know that. So I'm giving you some history right now, breaking it down. When Hines was a freshman, I got hurt my senior year. Hines came in, started. I think he started. I was out 5 games, so Hines started those games. When I came back, they put me at fullback, and Hines was a starting tailback. So when I say literally in the backfield together, I was blocking for Hines. And then I said, "Nah, Hines, you got to block for me. I can't keep blocking for you, man." No.
Oh, and that's why he was such a stellar blocker at the wide receiver position?
So Hines was an athlete. Hines was probably, one of the. I've seen one guy like Hines in my life that could do it all. Like undersized, but can block and catch. Had a crazy just knack for the game, but wasn't afraid of anything. And that was Hines. So yeah, when you watch as a receiver, yeah, he got a lot of that from playing and blocking and doing that stuff at Georgia.
And finally, who do you think will be a breakout star in the Super Bowl? So we know about Tom Brady, we know about Jared Goff, but somebody who America isn't very familiar with, but after the game, they'll be like, okay, this cat can ball. That's
always a great question, because we try to find those the unsung heroes and trying to find the guys who can contribute. The names that I'm thinking of are guys like Robert Woods. We don't talk a lot about Robert Woods, and I think he's been tremendous the last couple of weeks. You might get somebody like Cooks could be that hero. It might even be the guys that we already know, and that might be for the Rams, like Ndamukong Suh could be a guy. Everybody's focused on Aaron Donald. Could it be Suh can really make an impact in this game? Chris Hogan could come out of nowhere and have 8 or 9 catches in a game like this. So I'm trying to find that player too, and I haven't quite identified who that player is going to be. But as I look back at other Super Bowls, it's kind of been the usual suspects who have come through in these games, right? It's kind of been the guys we expect, other than the 1 year where James White kind of went off. The Patriots came back and won that game, but Tom Brady threw for 8,000 yards, so he was MVP. But James White probably should have been MVP in that game.
Tom said it himself.
Did he say it? He gave him a car. I think he gave him a car. Gave him a car for it, so Tom understands that. I'll let you know. I don't have one yet.
Are there any running backs in the league who remind you of yourself currently?
Not one. Running backs are like fingerprints. There's not. There isn't. There's not two alike. They're all different. And I've been trying to find that guy that looked like me since I've retired, and I just don't know who. I haven't seen him.
Thank you.
Patriots have 36 players who have played as